1 minute it was sunny, the next it was dark with foreboding clouds, then hail, rain, and wind gusts approaching 70 miles an hour.
Mother Nature at its best. We had a little storm burst, a cloud burst, kind of a, as I call it, a combination between a hurricane and a tornado come through here. It was somewhat isolated down this little corridor. If you were down at Butterfield, you didn't know, like what? Here we were, holding things down, fighting for our lives, not lives, but, things were falling apart and we ducked and covered. It was pretty crazy.
Just a half hour or so before the unusual storm hit Temecula Valley's wine country, it ripped through San Jacinto, Hemet, and Sage, toppling trees into mobile homes, flooding a strip mall and intersections, and tying up homeward-bound traffic. Exactly what was this weather event? Well, we put that question to Stan Wasowski of the National Weather Service's San Diego Forecast Center.
Wet microburst. In other words, there's a lot of moisture involved in it, so when a little bit of cooling took place aloft, that's what made force that air to come down even faster. It looks like the winds were probably anywhere from in the microburst itself from like 50 to possibly 70 miles per hour. And then the rainfalls are probably around like an inch or 2 inches of rain, like in the half hour, 45 minutes.
But Bill Wilson and his brother Mick say this was the storm of all storms, leaving their popular winery in disarray, with little left but to call in cleanup crews.
It was like they threw on buckets of water at us sideways. It came down so hard, mud everywhere.
The famous Wilson Creek here, looking at the creek bed, it looked like it survived, but everything around it's.
Yeah, well, we had water halfway up the grass area and all the way down, and it was just gushing through here like a torrential thing. It was coming up and over the bridges. You couldn't cross it. It was unbelievable. And then, 20 minutes later, I had to put my sunglasses back on. It just was shocking. It was just unbelievable.
The wind took two gazebos and threw them, what is that, probably about 100 yards, threw them over some cars that we had right there, and both of them landed right over here, and you can see the devastation with the barrels that blew over, the flooding over here.
Wilson says he feels lucky. This could have been a Saturday night, and as you know, one of the big hits out here is the smooth jazz concerts. Hundreds of people standing under the tent. Had this storm gone through at that time, Bill says people could have been hurt.
Nobody got hurt, no buildings collapsed, a couple of tents problem. My worst nightmare would be if I had, 300 people under there and a gourmet dinner, trying to raise money for some charity, and it goes, that would be a story.
What about damage to wine country grapes?
The grapes seem to have held their own. We have the Zinfandel has a tendency to get some rot on it, so if it gets wet on top, they're delicate skins, it might leak down. There's nothing you can do on that, we'll see, but nothing really hit the ground per se.
This freakish storm left behind damage to other Temecula Valley wineries, including flooding of vineyards at Ponte and roof damage at Long Shadow Ranch. Longtime area resident Dayton Taylor tells News 27 the storm and flash flooding through Wilson Creek really surprised him.
I personally lost two 50-foot tall pine trees with a diameter of probably about 3 feet, snapped them like twigs. And the largest crawdads you'd ever seen in your life, they were biting at our toes, walking around here like mini lobsters that were forced out of the creek about 30 feet away from the creek, where normally they live in the creek.
Is there a chance we'll see a repeat of this kind of storm before the week is over?
We're in the clear now because once that little feature moved through, we went into above us now. We're getting into the northwest airflow, and that's a drying airflow.
The Wilson brothers say they're just thankful no one got hurt, and they both hope they don't have to go through this kind of a thing again. Reporting from wine country Temecula with photojournalist Paul Sirbu, Bill Lauren, News 27.